how many of us are getting the sort of recommended daily allowance of sleep as a percentage? Do you know?
It seems to be about 1/3 of most modern civilizations are failing to get the recommended 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night.
One third, so roughly 30, 35%, 33% roughly.
Yeah.
And does that have geographic variance? I.e., in some countries it's worse, in some countries it's better. I'm thinking about the UK versus the US, or Japan or whatever.
Yeah, it is. And in fact, you let me give numbers to the three countries that you described. Here in the United States, the average amount of sleep that people are getting is 6 hours and 29 minutes. In the UK, it's not much better, 6 hours and 49 minutes. Japan was the worst, 6 hours and 22 minutes. Now, to be clear, that's the average. What that means is that there is still a large proportion of that bell-shaped distribution of people getting even less than that amount. Now, there are some countries that you look at that are actually sleeping much better than that. I think Mexico, for example, is doing very well. If you look at Mexico City, people are actually sleeping not too far off from 8 hours. So there is variability, and we can try to understand why. Which, by the way, just brings me back while I think about it to your comment of, will my work be done not from because I'm a scientist and I run a big sleep center at UC Berkeley, but the work I do as hopefully a public advocate for sleep, why I don't think it's going to change anytime soon, is because governments aren't really doing much about it. And I've tried as best I can. And if there is any government out there that listens to this that wants to work with me, I'd be delighted. I don't remember, and maybe you can, but any major first world nation government that has had a public health campaign regarding sleep. And it stuns me because those same governments have had public health campaigns regarding, eating, regarding smoking, regarding drunk driving, regarding risky behaviors, safe sex, loneliness, mental health, suicide. Where is sleep in that equation? And it's such a fundamental ingredient. And in fact, almost all of those things that I've just described have an intimate relationship with sleep. I mean, suicide, especially, we're starting to do a lot of work with this, although it's been hard to get funding. But what we found is that insufficient sleep is a precursor to suicide. That sleep disruption seems to predict both suicide ideation, in other words, suicidal thinking, suicide planning, and tragically, suicide completion as well. So if we were to try to have governments create a public health campaign to pull this Archimedes lever on better sleep, there are so many other health benefits. Sleep is the tide that rises all the other health boats. It's almost like it's like a mixing deck in a studio, in those sound studios where you've seen it. And then there's that one button all the way to the end, the white button, sort of that when you move it up, sort of all of the other dials, the sort of the red, yellow, orange, green dials, they all move up at the same time as well. There's this like sort of there's like one ring to rule them all. Sleep is that Archimedes lever. So if governments could only execute on that, the health benefits would be manifold in terms of their consequences.